The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched as far as the eye could see. Tall windows showed the stars beyond, reminding everyone of how vast space truly was. Inside, hundreds of beings from 12 different worlds sat in their special seats, each designed for their unique bodies. Ambassador Zethkar stood at the center platform. His blue skin gleamed under the bright lights, and his forearms moved as he spoke. The Valorian Empire had been part of the Council for over 3,000 years. They knew how to run things properly. "We must discuss the human problem again," Zethkar said, his voice carrying across the silent hall. "These creatures have been part of our council for 3 years now. In that time, they have proven again and again that they do not belong among civilized beings." Many heads nodded in agreement. The crystal beings from Valthara S world made soft chiming sounds that meant they agreed. The tall, thin Nexari clicked, their long fingers together. Even the peaceful Korathi, who rarely took sides, seemed to support what Zethkar was saying. In the human section, Captain Jake Mitchell sat very still. His dark uniform was perfectly pressed, and his face showed no emotion. Next to him, Commander Lisa Hayes held a data pad so tightly her knuckles turned white. Behind them sat Dr. Amy Carter, the team scientist, and Colonel Steve Johnson, their military advisor. "Let us look at the facts," Zethkar continued. "Humans have been flying between stars for only 200 years. We have been doing this for thousands of years. Yet they think they can teach us about space travel and diplomacy." Ambassador Valthara stood up. She was made of living crystal, and light moved through her body as she spoke. "The Valorians speak truth. Humans still fight wars on their homeworld. They have not learned to live in peace even with their own kind. How can they help us keep peace in the galaxy? Their history is written in blood," added Ambassador Krenter of the Nexari. His tall, thin body swayed as he spoke. "They celebrate soldiers and warriors. They make movies and books about war. They teach their children to play games about fighting. This is not the way of advanced beings." Jake Mitchell's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He had heard all this before. Every council meeting was the same. The other species would list all the reasons why humans were not good enough to be here. "They call themselves civilized," Zethkar continued, "but look at their actions. When there is a problem, their first thought is to fight. When there is a disagreement, they think of war. When there is a challenge, they want to compete instead of cooperate." Dr. Amy Carter leaned forward. She was a small woman with kind eyes, but her voice was strong. "Ambassador Zethkar, may I remind you that humans have not started a single war since joining the Council. We have only offered to help with peacekeeping missions." Zethkar repeated the word like it tasted bad. "You mean fighting. You always mean fighting. That is the only solution you know." "Sometimes fighting is necessary to protect innocent people," Jake Mitchell said, finally standing up. He was not tall, but something about him made everyone in the hall pay attention. "We do not like war. We hate it, but we understand that evil exists in the galaxy and sometimes it must be stopped." The hall became very quiet. Many of the alien beings had never heard a human speak so directly before. They were used to long, careful speeches, full of pretty words that meant nothing. "This is exactly what we mean," Zethkar said, his voice rising. "You speak of evil and good like a child. You think the galaxy is simple, black and white. Advanced beings understand that everything is complicated. There are no good guys and bad guys. There are only different points of view." Lisa Hayes stood up next to Jake. "With respect, Ambassador, that is not always true. When someone is hurting innocent people, when someone is taking away freedom, when someone is destroying entire worlds, that is evil. And it must be stopped." "See how they think?" Valthara said to the other council members. "They divide everything into us and them, friend and enemy, right and wrong. This is primitive thinking." Colonel Johnson spoke for the first time. He was an older man with gray hair and scars on his hands. "Maybe it is primitive, but it works. In all your thousands of years of advanced thinking, how many worlds have you saved? How many people have you protected from real danger? The question hung in the air like a challenge. The truth was uncomfortable. The Galactic Council spent most of its time talking. They had committees to study problems, and committees to study the committees. They wrote reports and held meetings and made speeches. But when real trouble came, they usually just talked more. "We believe in peaceful solutions," Krenter said. "We do not rush to violence like humans do." "Peaceful solutions are good," Amy Carter replied. "But what happens when the other side does not want peace? What happens when they want to hurt people no matter what you say to them?" "Then we find a compromise," Zethkar said. "We negotiate. We offer them something they want in exchange for what we want. And if what they want is to kill everyone who disagrees with them?" Jake asked. The alien ambassadors looked uncomfortable. They did not like this kind of direct talk. They preferred discussions about philosophy and theory. "Humans," Vothara said, changing the subject, "are too emotional. Look at how they react to simple questions. They get angry and defensive. Advanced beings control their emotions. We think clearly without feeling getting in the way." "Emotions are not always bad," Lisa Hayes said. "Love makes us protect our families. Anger makes us fight injustice. Fear keeps us careful. Hope helps us keep trying when things are hard." "These are primitive responses," Zethkar declared. "A truly advanced species would have evolved beyond such basic instincts." "Maybe," Jake said, "but these instincts have kept us alive for millions of years. They have helped us survive on a dangerous world. They have pushed us to explore space and find new homes. They have made us want to help others and protect the weak. They have also made you fight wars and destroy your own environment," Krenter pointed out. "Yes," Jake agreed. "We have made mistakes, big ones, but we learn from them. We are still learning. That is what makes us human." The debate continued for hours, as it always did. The alien species presented their careful arguments about why humans were not ready for full membership in the council. The humans defended themselves as best they could, but they were only 4 people against hundreds. Finally, it was time to vote. The council had 3 proposals to consider. The first was to expand human territory and allow them to start new colonies. The second was to let humans lead a joint training mission with other species. The third was to give humans more say in council decisions. One by one, the proposals were rejected. The Valorians voted no. The Crystalline Collective voted no. The Nexari voted no. All the other species followed their lead. "The council has spoken," Zethkar announced. "Humans will remain junior members until they prove they can think and act like civilized beings." As the meeting ended, Jake Mitchell gathered his papers slowly. He had expected this result, but it still hurt. The other species talked about peace and cooperation, but they would not give humans a real chance to prove themselves. "Captain," Lisa Hayes said quietly, "do you think they will ever accept us?" Jake looked around the great hall at all the alien beings filing out. They were older than humans, more advanced in many ways, and they had kept peace in the galaxy for thousands of years. But something about their attitude bothered him. "I do not know," he said. "But I have a feeling that someday they might need us more than they think." Outside the hall, the stars continued their ancient dance. Somewhere in that vast darkness, trouble was coming. When it arrived, the galaxy would learn the true difference between being civilized and being human. 3 months had passed since the council meeting. Dr. Amy Carter sat in the human monitoring station on Luna Base, watching the screens that showed deep space. Her job was to listen for signals from across the galaxy. Most days she heard nothing. But the quiet hum of stars and empty space. Today was different. At first, it was just a small blip on her screen. Amy leaned closer, adjusting the controls. The signal was weak, coming from very far away. She turned up the volume and heard something that made her blood run cold. "This is Colony 7 on Kepler 442b, a voice said through the static. "We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack by unknown ships. Our defenses are down. We need help. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help." Amy's hands shook as she worked the controls. The signal was breaking up, but she could hear enough to understand. Someone was in trouble, and they were calling for help. She pressed the emergency button on her desk. Within minutes, Commander. Lisa Hayes was running into the room, still wearing her exercise clothes. What is it? Lisa asked, breathing hard. Listen to this, Amy said, playing the recording again. Lisa's face went pale as she heard the message. When did this come in? Just now, but look at the timestamp. This signal has been traveling for hours. Whatever is happening there, it started a long time ago. Lisa grabbed the nearest communication device. Get me Captain Mitchell. Emergency. Priority. While they waited, Amy kept working on the signal. She was able to clean it up and make it clearer. What she heard made her stomach hurt. Day 3 of the attack, the voice said. The enemy ships are huge. We have never seen anything like them. They destroyed our orbital stations in minutes. Our weapons cannot hurt them. We have maybe 15,000 people in the underground shelters. That includes 3,000 children. The voice paused, and Amy could hear explosions in the background. We do not know what they want, the voice continued. They are not trying to talk to us. They just keep attacking. Our best guess is that we have maybe 72 hours before they break through our final defenses. After that, they will probably destroy the whole colony. If anyone receives this message, please help us. We are just scientists and farmers. We have no military ships, no weapons that can fight these things. We are sending this message to every frequency we know. Please, if there is anyone out there who can help us, we are begging you. The signal ended with a burst of static. Jake Mitchell arrived 20 minutes later, still putting on his uniform. What do we know? He asked. Amy showed him the data on her screens. The signal came from the Kepler 442 system. It is a research colony, about 15,000 people. They are under attack by ships they have never seen before. How long ago did the attack start? Based on the signal travel time, maybe 6 hours ago. But the message said they were on day 3, so it has been going on for a while. Jake studied the information. What kind of defenses do they have? Almost none, Lisa said. It is a research colony. They have some basic shields and a few security ships, but nothing that could fight a real attack. Who would attack a research colony? Jake asked. Amy shook her head. I do not know. But the signal mentioned that the enemy ships are huge and their weapons are very advanced. Whoever is attacking them has technology we have never seen. Jake was quiet for a moment, thinking. Send this to the Galactic Council immediately. They need to know about this. Already done, Lisa said. I sent it out on all emergency channels 20 minutes ago. Good. Now we wait and see what they do. They did not have to wait long. Within 2 hours, the Galactic Council had called an emergency meeting. The Great Hall filled with representatives from all 12 species. Everyone talking at once. Ambassador Zethkar stood at the center platform, looking very serious. We have all received the distress signal from Kepler 442b. The situation is grave. A research colony with 15,000 civilians is under attack by an unknown enemy force. The hall became quiet. Everyone knew that attacks on civilian colonies were rare. Most species in the galaxy followed rules about not hurting innocent people. What do we know about the attackers? Asked Ambassador Velthara. Nothing, Zethkar replied. The colony's sensors detected at least 12 large ships before their orbital platforms were destroyed. The ship designs do not match any known species. They are not responding to any attempts at communication. Are they trying to conquer the colony? Asked Ambassador Krenter. Unknown. The colony reports that the attackers are being very systematic. They are not just destroying everything. They appear to be harvesting resources from the planet. The word harvesting made everyone uncomfortable. It sounded like the attackers were treating the planet and its people like crops to be gathered. We must send help immediately, said Ambassador Mordick of the Korathi. His people were known for being peaceful, but they cared deeply about protecting innocent lives. Of course, Zethkar agreed. The question is who can respond quickly enough. That was when the real problem became clear. One by one, each species reported the same thing. The Valorian Empire's nearest fleet was 51 light-years away. Even with their fastest ships, it would take 42 days to reach the colony. The Crystalline Collective was even further away. The Nexari had fast ships, but they were all busy with conflicts in other parts of the galaxy. What about the Korathi? Someone asked. Our ships are built for peace, not war, Mordic replied sadly. We have medical vessels and supply ships, but nothing that could fight these attackers. The discussion went on for hours. Every species had the same problem. They were either too far away, too busy, or not equipped for battle. The colony was in a remote part of the galaxy, far from any major military bases. Finally, Jake Mitchell stood up. How far is the colony from human space? The hall became quiet. Zethkar looked at his datapad, his expression changing from annoyance to surprise. According to our charts, the human colony ship New Frontier is 8.3 light-years from the Kepler 442 system. Our rapid response fleet is stationed there, Jake said. We have 4 ships that could reach the colony in 6 days. The silence in the hall was complete. Every alien representative was staring at the humans. Impossible, Zethkar said finally. Human ships are not advanced enough to make such a journey quickly. And even if they could, what could 4 primitive vessels do against 12 advanced enemy ships? We can try, Jake replied simply. Try? Velthara-S crystal body flashed with different colors, showing her confusion. This is not about trying, this is about military strategy. This is about advanced technology and superior firepower. What can humans possibly accomplish that our fleets cannot? We can get there in time, Lisa Hayes said, standing next to Jake. But you will be destroyed, Krenter protested. These enemy ships defeated the colony's defenses easily. They have technology we do not understand. Sending 4 human ships against them would be suicide. Maybe, Jake admitted. But those are 15,000 people who need help, including 3,000 children. Are we supposed to just let them die because the odds are bad? The alien ambassadors looked at each other. This was exactly the kind of thinking they had been complaining about. Humans always wanted to rush into danger without thinking about the consequences. Captain Mitchell, Zethkar said carefully, we understand your desire to help, but we must be realistic. Your ships are not equipped for this kind of battle. Your technology is decades behind what we have seen from these attackers. You would be throwing away 4 ships and their crews for nothing. For nothing? Amy Carter stood up, her voice shaking with anger. Those are people out there, families, children, scientists who have never hurt anyone. How is trying to save them nothing? Because you cannot save them, Velthara said. You will only add to the number of dead. That helps no one. We have to try, Jake said. It is what we do. When people are in trouble, we help them, even if the odds are bad, even if it is dangerous. The debate continued for another hour. Some representatives argued that sending humans was pointless. Others worried about the political implications if the human fleet was destroyed. A few suggested that maybe it was worth the risk. Finally, Ambassador Mordic spoke up. I believe we should let the humans try. Yes, their ships are not as advanced as ours. Yes, they will probably be destroyed. But they are the only ones who can reach the colony in time. If we do nothing, those 15,000 people will certainly die. If we send the humans, there is at least a small chance. A very small chance, Zethkar said. But a chance, Mordic replied. The vote was close. 7 species voted to authorize the human rescue mission. 5 voted against it. The humans had permission to try to save the colony. As the meeting ended, Zethkar approached Jake Mitchell. Captain, I want to be clear about something. We are not sending you because we think you can succeed. We are sending you because we have no other choice. Do you understand? Jake looked at the alien ambassador for a long moment. I understand perfectly. You think we are going to die. Maybe you are right, but we are going anyway. Why? Zethkar asked. Why would you throw away your lives for people you have never met? Jake thought about the question. It was not easy to explain to someone who had never felt the same way. Because they called for help, he said finally, and we heard them. Within hours, the human fleet was preparing to leave. 4 ships. Against an unknown enemy. Everyone knew the odds were terrible. But somewhere in the darkness, Captain Ryan Torres stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the stars rush past his ship. The heavy cruiser was pushing its engines as hard as they could go, racing toward the Kepler 442 system. Behind him, 3 destroyers followed. In formation, the Vanguard, the Sentinel, and the Stalker. "Captain, we are getting more signals from the colony," reported Lieutenant Kate Morgan from her position at the communications station. She was young, maybe 25, with short red hair and worried eyes. Ryan walked over to her station. "What are they saying?" Kate played the latest message. The voice was the same one they had heard before, but now it sounded much more frightened. "This is Governor Ellen Price of Kepler 442b. The situation is getting worse. The enemy ships have destroyed our power plants. We are running on emergency power only. Our shields are failing. We estimate maybe 48 hours before they break through our defenses." The message continued with a burst of static, then the voice came back. "We do not understand what they want. They are not trying to communicate, they just keep attacking. We have moved everyone to the deep shelters, but we cannot hold out much longer. Please, if anyone is coming to help us, hurry." Ryan felt a cold knot in his stomach. 48 hours. His fleet would reach the system in 36 hours if they kept pushing the engines. It would be close. "Commander Santos," he called to his executive officer. Status report. Commander Paul Santos was a big man with dark hair and calm eyes. He had been Ryan's second-in-command for 5 years, and they trusted each other completely. "All ships are maintaining maximum speed," Paul reported. "The engines are running hot, but they will hold together. We should reach the system in 35 hours, maybe 34 if we push a little harder." "Do it," Ryan said. "Push as hard as you can without breaking anything." Dr. Susan Clark looked up from her science station. She was the fleet's expert on alien technology, a thin woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. "Captain, I have been studying the signals from the colony. The attacks are very systematic. The enemy is not just destroying things randomly." "What do you mean?" "They are harvesting resources in a specific pattern. First they took out the orbital platforms to stop any ships from leaving. Then they destroyed the power plants to weaken the shields. Now they are slowly breaking down the remaining defenses." Ryan frowned. "That sounds like they are planning to land on the planet." "Yes, but not to conquer it. The pattern suggests they want to strip the planet of everything valuable. The people, the technology, the natural resources, everything." The bridge became quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. The attackers were not trying to capture the colony. They were trying to harvest it like a crop. "Sir," called Lieutenant Commander Alex Reed from the tactical station. "I have been running computer models of the battle. The odds are not good." Alex was the fleet's weapons expert, a young man with blonde hair and serious eyes. He was very good at his job, but he always told the truth about their chances. "How not good?" Ryan asked. "Based on what we know about the enemy ships, we are looking at 12 to 15 vessels, each one larger than the Defiant. Their weapons were able to destroy the colony's orbital platforms in minutes. Our 4 ships will be badly outnumbered." "What are our chances of winning?" Alex was quiet for a moment. "Honestly, sir, very low. Maybe 5% if we are very lucky. And our chances of getting the civilians out? Better. Maybe 30% if we can create enough confusion to cover an evacuation." Ryan nodded. Those were not good odds, but they were better than nothing. "What about the enemy? What do we know about them?" "Not much," Susan said. "The colony's sensors detected them before the platforms were destroyed. The ships are very large, dark-colored, and they move in formation. Their weapons use some kind of energy beam that cuts through shields like they are not there. Any weaknesses? Unknown. But there is something interesting. The colony reports that the enemy ships are slow. They are powerful, but they do not seem to be built for speed or quick movements. Ryan thought about that, so they are like big, slow monsters. Powerful, but not fast. That is one way to put it, Susan agreed. Paul Santos spoke up. Captain, I have been thinking about our strategy. We cannot fight these ships directly. We are too small and too weak, but maybe we can use our speed against them. What are you thinking? Hit and run attacks. Get in close, hit them hard, then get out before they can respond. Keep moving, keep them confused. Maybe we can create enough chaos to give the evacuation ships time to get away. Ryan liked the idea. It was risky, but it was better than trying to fight a straight battle they could not win. Kate, get me a channel to the other ships, he ordered. Within minutes, the captains of the other 3 ships were on the communication screen. Captain Linda Foster of the Stalker was a tough woman in her 40s with steel-gray hair. Captain Greg Walsh of the Vanguard was older, maybe 50, with kind eyes and a gentle voice. Captain Betty Morris of the Sentinel was young for a captain. Only 32, but she was known for being very smart and very brave. All right, people, Ryan said. We all know what we are facing. 12 to 15 enemy ships, each one bigger and stronger than anything we have. The colony has maybe 48 hours left. We will reach them in about 35 hours. What is the plan? Linda asked. Hit and run. We cannot fight them directly, so we will not try. We will use our speed to get in close, hit them hard, then get out. The goal is not to destroy them. The goal is to confuse them and buy time for the evacuation. What about the civilians? Betty asked. How do we get 15,000 people off the planet? The Sentinel and the Stalker will handle the evacuation, Ryan said. You two have the biggest cargo holds. The Defiant and the Vanguard will keep the enemy busy. Sir, Greg said quietly, we all know this is probably a one-way trip. Are we really going to do this? Ryan looked at the faces of his fellow captains on the screen. They were all good people, experienced officers who had served together for years. They were being asked to risk their lives for strangers they had never met. Governor Price sent another message an hour ago, Ryan said. She said there are 3,000 children in the shelters. 3,000 kids who are scared and do not understand why this is happening to them. The communication channel was quiet for a moment. I have kids, Linda said finally. 2 daughters, ages 8 and 12. If they were trapped somewhere, I would want someone to help them. I have grandchildren, Greg added. I cannot imagine just leaving them to die. We all have families, Betty said. That is why we are here. That is why we do this job, Ryan nodded. So we are all in agreement. We go in, we get those people out, and we do not leave anyone behind. Understood, Linda said. Roger that, Greg replied. The Sentinel is ready, Betty confirmed. As the communication ended, Ryan looked around his bridge. His crew was young, most of them in their 20s and 30s. They had families back home, dreams for the future, reasons to live. But they were also human, and humans did not abandon people in trouble. Captain, Kate said, we are getting another signal from the colony. Put it through. This time the voice was different. It was a man, and he sounded exhausted. This is Dr. Martin Webb, Chief Scientist of Kepler 442b. Governor Price was injured in the latest attack. The enemy is now targeting our deep shelters directly. We have maybe 24 hours left, not 48. The children are getting scared. Some of the adults are starting to panic. The voice paused and Ryan could hear people crying in the background. We heard that someone is coming to help us. We do not know who you are, but thank you for trying. Even if you cannot save us, thank you for not abandoning us. We will try to hold on until you get here. The message ended and the bridge was silent. 24 hours, Paul said quietly. We will be there in 34 hours, Alex reported. Not good enough, Ryan said. Kate, send a message to the colony. Tell them we are coming. Tell them to hold on. Tell them that humans do not leave people behind. Yes, sir. Ryan looked out at the stars rushing past his ship. Somewhere ahead, in the darkness of space, 15,000 people were waiting for help. The odds were terrible. The enemy was stronger, and time was running out, but they were coming anyway. Because that was what humans did. They answered the call for help, even when it seemed impossible. The four ships continued their race through space, carrying hope to people who had almost given up. In 34 hours, they would face an enemy they could not defeat in a battle. They could not win to save people they had never met. And every single person on those ships knew it was the right thing to do. The Defiant dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Ryan Torres felt his stomach drop as he saw what was waiting for them. The enemy ships were even bigger than the reports had said. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Kate Morgan from her station. 15 massive ships surrounded the colony world like hungry wolves. Each one was at least twice the size of the Defiant. They were dark, almost black, with strange curves and angles that hurt to look at. No lights showed on their hulls, making them look like pieces of the night sky itself. "Alex, report," Ryan ordered. Lieutenant Commander Alex Reed's fingers flew over his controls. 15 confirmed enemy vessels, each one approximately 800 meters long. They are arranged in a perfect sphere around the planet. Energy readings? Off the charts, sir. Their power systems are unlike anything in our databases. And Captain, they have already detected us. On the main screen, 3 of the massive ships were turning toward the human fleet. They moved slowly, but there was something terrifying about the way they moved together like parts of the same creature. "Kate, get me the colony," Ryan said. Static filled the bridge. Then a weak voice came through. "This is Dr. Martin Webb. Thank God you made it. But you need to know, the situation is critical. They broke through our outer defenses 2 hours ago. We have maybe 6 hours before they reach the main shelters. Doctor, this is Captain Torres. We are going to get you out of there. How many people do you have?" "About 14,800. We lost some in the attacks. Most are in the deep shelters under the main research facility." Ryan did quick math in his head. The Sentinel could carry about 3,000 people if they packed them in tight. The Stalker could take maybe 2,500. That meant they would need at least 6 trips to get everyone out. "Doctor, we need you to prepare everyone for evacuation. Get them to the surface landing areas. We will have ships there as soon as possible." "Captain, the enemy is bombarding the surface. Anyone who goes outside will be killed." "Let us worry about that. Just get your people ready." Ryan switched to the fleet channel. "All ships, this is Torres. You know the plan. Sentinel and Stalker, get to the planet and start evacuations. Defiant and Vanguard, we keep those big ships busy." "Roger that," came the replies. The human fleet split up. The Sentinel and Stalker headed for the planet at full speed while the Defiant and Vanguard turned toward the nearest enemy ships. "Alex, target the lead ship. All weapons." "Targeting. Now, sir." The Defiant's missiles streaked through space, followed by energy beams from her main guns. The weapons struck the enemy ship's shields, causing bright flashes of light. For a moment, Ryan hoped they had done some damage. Then the enemy ship's shields flickered and went back to full strength. Their attack had done almost nothing. "Damn," Alex muttered. "Their shields are incredibly strong. Keep firing. We need to get their attention." The Defiant and Vanguard continued their attack, darting between the massive enemy ships like angry bees. The enemy responded slowly, their huge weapons turning to track the small human vessels. When the enemy finally fired back, Ryan understood why the colony's defenses had failed so quickly. Beams of purple energy lanced out from the alien ships, each one powerful enough to cut a battleship in half. The Defiant twisted and turned, barely avoiding the deadly beams. "They are trying to get a lock on us," Alex reported. "Their weapons are powerful, but they are slow to track fast targets." "Good. Keep us moving." "Paul, how are the engines holding up?" Commander Paul Santos checked his displays. "We are pushing them hard, but they are holding together. We can keep this up for maybe an hour before we need to slow down." On the planet, the Sentinel was making her first landing. Captain Betty Morris brought her ship down in a cleared area near the research facility. The colony's people were already waiting, families carrying children and whatever belongings they could manage. "This is Morris," she reported over the radio. "Beginning evacuation. First load will be the injured and the children." "Understood," Ryan replied, then had to throw the Defiant into a sharp turn as another energy beam barely missed them. The evacuation was not going smoothly. The enemy ships had noticed the landing, and they were starting to target the surface. Purple beams struck the ground around the Sentinel, turning rock into molten glass. "Stalker, get down there and help Morris," Ryan ordered. Captain Linda Foster brought the Stalker down on the other side of the facility. Between the two ships, they could load people faster, but the enemy fire was getting worse. "We need more time," Betty reported. "The people are scared. Some of them do not want to leave their homes. Dr. Webb, this is Torres. You need to get those people moving. We cannot hold the enemy off forever." "I am trying, Captain." "But these are scientists and farmers, not soldiers." "They are not used to this kind of situation," Ryan understood. These were peaceful people who had never been in a war. They were confused and frightened, and they did not know what to do. "Doctor, tell them this. Tell them that 4 ships full of humans came here to save them. Tell them that we are not going to leave anyone behind, but they need to trust us and move quickly." "I will try." The battle in space was getting desperate. The Vanguard had taken a hit to her engines and was moving slower. The Defiant's shields were down to 30%, but they were learning about the enemy. "Captain," Alex reported, "I think I have figured something out. The enemy ships are powerful, but they are not built for fighting small, fast ships. They are designed to attack big, slow targets." "What do you mean?" "Their weapons are too slow to track us effectively, and they seem to have trouble coordinating their attacks. I think they are used to fighting enemies who stay in formation and follow predictable patterns." Ryan thought about that. The enemy expected their opponents to fight like the Galactic Council species, with careful planning and organized formations. But humans did not fight that way. "All ships, this is Torres' new plan. We are going to get crazy. Random patterns, unexpected moves. Make them think we have lost our minds." "Sir?" came Greg Walsh's voice from the Vanguard. "Trust me, Greg. These things expect us to act like civilized beings. Time to show them what savages can do." The human ships began to move in wild, unpredictable patterns. The Defiant dove straight at one of the enemy ships, then turned at the last second and raked its hull with gunfire. The Vanguard came in from an impossible angle and launched missiles at point-blank range. The enemy ships began to have trouble tracking them. Their careful formation started to break apart as they tried to follow the chaotic movements of the human vessels. "It is working," Alex said with excitement. "They are getting confused. Their firing patterns are becoming less coordinated." On the planet, the evacuation was speeding up. The first load of people was away, and the Sentinel was coming back for more. The Stalker was loading her first group, mostly families with young children. "This is Webb," came the doctor's voice. "Captain, your message worked. When I told the people that humans had come to save them, everything changed. They are moving much faster now." "Good. How many more trips do you need?" "At least 4 more, maybe 5. Ryan looked at his tactical display. The enemy ships were starting to reorganize. Soon they would adapt to the human tactics and become more dangerous. "Paul, how much longer can we keep this up? The engines are overheating." "Maybe 30 more minutes at this pace." "Alex, what about weapons?" "We are down to 60% on missiles. Energy weapons are still good, but we are not doing much damage to their shields." Ryan made a decision that would have shocked the Galactic Council. "All ships, we are going to ram them." "Sir?" came several voices at once. "Not really ram them, but we are going to make them think we are crazy enough to do it. Get as close as possible, make them think we are going to crash into them, then turn away at the last second." "Captain," Paul said quietly, "that is incredibly dangerous." "I know. But these aliens think we are savages. Time to live up to our reputation." The Defiant turned toward the largest enemy ship and accelerated directly at it. The alien vessel's weapons turned to track the small human ship, but Ryan kept coming. At the last possible second, he pulled the Defiant into a sharp turn that brought them along the enemy ship's hull. The alien ship, thinking the humans were about to crash into them, had turned to avoid the collision. This left them exposed to the Vanguard, who hit them with everything she had. For the first time in the battle, an enemy ship's shields flickered and went down. "Target their weapons," Ryan ordered. The combined fire from both human ships struck the enemy vessel's weapon systems. Explosions bloomed along its hull, and several of its main guns went dark. "We hurt them," Alex said with amazement. "We actually hurt them. The enemy was learning too. They began to change their tactics, trying to box in the human ships. But every time they thought they had the humans trapped, the small ships would do something unexpected." "Captain," Kate called out, "the Sentinel is reporting her third load is away. 2 more trips to go. How long? Maybe 40 minutes. Ryan looked at his damaged ship and exhausted crew. The engines were redlining, the shields were almost gone, and they were running out of ammunition. But they had to hold on. "Paul, give me everything the engines have left." "Sir, if we push them any harder, they might explode. Then we better finish this quickly." The battle continued, 4 small human ships against. The Sentinel lifted off from the planet's surface for the 5th time, her cargo holds packed with the last group of colonists. Captain Betty Morris could barely keep her ship in the air. The repeated trips through enemy fire had damaged her engines and torn holes in her hull. "This is Morris," she reported over the radio. "Last group is aboard. We got them all." Captain Ryan Torres felt relief wash over him, but it did not last long. The Defiant was barely holding together. Her shields were gone, her hull was scarred by enemy fire, and half her weapons were destroyed. Around him, his bridge crew looked exhausted. "Kate, confirm the count," Ryan ordered. "All 14,800 colonists are accounted for, sir. The transports are heading for the jump point now." "Good, now we need to get out of here ourselves." But the enemy had other plans. The alien ships were no longer confused by human tactics. They had learned to work together, and now they were surrounding the human fleet. "Captain," Alex Reed reported, "we are boxed in." "They have us surrounded?" Ryan looked at the tactical display. The enemy ships had formed a tight circle around the 4 human vessels. There was no way out. "Paul, can we break through their line?" Commander Paul Santos shook his head. "Not with our engines in this condition. We are barely moving." The main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. The same cold, mechanical voice they had heard before filled the bridge. "Human vessels, you will surrender immediately. Your interference has been noted. You will be taken for study." Ryan stood up slowly. His uniform was torn, and there was blood on his face from when a console had exploded near him. But his voice was steady. "This is Captain Torres. We are not surrendering. We came here to save those people, and we did. Now we are going home. You cannot escape. Your ships are damaged. Your weapons are ineffective. Surrender, and your deaths will be quick." "We are not surrendering," Ryan repeated. There was a pause, then the alien voice spoke again. "Why do you continue to resist? You cannot win. Your situation is hopeless. This behavior is not logical." Ryan looked around his bridge at his crew. They were young, scared, and hurt. But they were still at their posts, still doing their jobs. "Logic has nothing to do with it," Ryan said. "We are human." "Human," the alien voice repeated the word slowly. "We do not understand this concept. You fight when you cannot win. You risk your lives for beings who are not related to you. You choose death over surrender. This makes no sense." Dr. Susan Clark looked up from her damaged science station. "Captain, I am getting some strange readings from the alien ships. They are not just talking to us. They are scanning us, studying us." "What kind of scans?" "Everything. Our biology, our psychology, our ship designs. It is like they are trying to understand us." The alien voice spoke again. "We are the harvesters. We have conquered 47 star systems. We have studied 23 different species. All surrendered when faced with superior force. All chose survival over Principle. And, Ryan asked, you did not. Your species fights not for territory or resources. You fight for concepts we do not understand. Honor, duty, love. These things have no physical form, yet you will die for them. Lieutenant Kate Morgan spoke up. Sir, I think they are genuinely confused. They do not understand why we are doing this. The alien continued. We came to this system to harvest its resources. We expected minimal resistance. Instead, we found something we have never encountered before. What is that? A species that values the lives of strangers more than its own survival. You knew? You could not defeat us, yet you came anyway. You knew you would probably die, yet you fought to save people you had never met. This behavior is impossible to understand. Ryan thought about the alien's words. Maybe that is because you have never been human. Human, the alien said again. We have been observing your species since you joined the Galactic Council. The other species call you savages. They say you are primitive and violent. But we have seen your actions today. You are not savage. You are something else. What do you think we are? Unknown. Your technology is inferior to ours. Your weapons are weak. Your ships are small. Yet you fought with an intensity we have rarely seen. You used tactics we did not expect. You refused to surrender when any logical being would have given up. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of damaged systems. Ryan could hear the alien ships moving around them, but they were no longer firing. We have made a decision, the alien voice said. We will not harvest this system. The resources here are not worth the cost of understanding your species. You are leaving? Ryan asked, hardly believing it. We are. But first, we must ask you something. Why did you come here? Why did you risk everything for these people? Ryan looked at his crew again. They were waiting for his answer, but he could see in their faces that they already knew what he would say. Because they needed help, Ryan said simply. Because they called for help and we heard them. Because leaving people to die when you can save them is wrong. Wrong, the alien repeated. Another concept we do not understand. What makes something right or wrong? I cannot explain it to you, Ryan said. It is just part of being human. When someone is in trouble, you help them. When someone is scared, you protect them. When someone is dying, you try to save them, even if it costs you everything. Even if it costs you everything, the alien said slowly. Yes, we have seen this. You would rather die than abandon these people. This is not logical. This is not efficient. This is not what advanced species do. Maybe not, Ryan agreed, but it is what we do. The alien ships began to move away from the human fleet. Their dark hulls seemed to fade back into the blackness of space. We will remember this encounter, the alien voice said. Your species possesses something we have not observed before. Perhaps what others call savagery is actually a form of advancement we do not recognize. Maybe, Ryan said. Or maybe we are just too stubborn to know when to quit. Stubborn, the alien said, and there might have been something like amusement in its voice. Yes, that is an accurate description. We will not forget the humans who came to save strangers. We will not forget the species that fights for honor instead of victory. The alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the human fleet alone in the damaged system. Ryan's crew looked around at each other in amazement. They just left, Kate said. We won. No, Ryan said quietly. We did not win. We just showed them something they had never seen before. What was that? What it means to be human. 3 days later, back on Earth, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The news of the human fleet's success had spread throughout the galaxy, and the Great Hall buzzed with conversation. Ambassador Zethkar stood at the center platform, but his usual arrogance was gone. He looked tired and thoughtful. The human fleet has returned, he announced. All 4 ships survived, though they were badly damaged. More importantly, they successfully evacuated all 14,800 colonists from Kepler 442b. The hall erupted in surprise. Murmurs. Many of the alien representatives had expected the humans to be destroyed. Furthermore, Zethkar continued, The unknown enemy force has withdrawn from the system. They sent a message saying they would not return. Jake Mitchell stood up from the human section. The enemy called themselves the Harvesters. They said they were studying us, trying to understand why we fought the way we did. And what did you tell them? Asked Ambassador Valthara. The truth. That we fight for people, not for victory. That we help others because it is the right thing to do, not because it benefits us. The hall was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Ambassador Mordick of the Korathi spoke. Perhaps we have been wrong about humans. Your methods are indeed crude, and your approach to conflict is violent. But the results speak for themselves. You saved 14,800 lives that we could not save. We did not save them alone, Jake replied. We saved them because this council gave us permission to try. Because you trusted us to do what needed to be done. Zethkar looked at the human delegation for a long moment. Captain Mitchell, I owe you an apology. We called your species savages. We said you were too primitive to contribute to our civilized society, but perhaps we were looking at this backwards. What do you mean? Perhaps true civilization is not about advanced technology or careful diplomacy. Perhaps it is about being willing to risk everything to help others. Perhaps it is about answering the call for help, even when the odds are impossible. The Council voted that day to give humans full membership and equal voice in all decisions. The vote was unanimous. As the session ended, Zethkar approached Jake. Tell me, Captain, what drives your species to such extremes? What makes you willing to die for strangers? Jake thought about Captain Torres and his crew, about the 4 ships that had raced into impossible danger to save people they had never met. We have a saying, Jake said, no one gets left behind. It does not matter who you are, where you come from, or what you believe. If you are in trouble and you call for help, someone will come. That is what makes us human. And perhaps, Zethkar said quietly, that is what makes you more civilized than the rest of us. In the darkness of space, the message continued to echo from world to world, from species to species. When people were in trouble, when hope was lost, when all seemed impossible, there was one species that would always answer the call. They called humans savages. But when the SOS came, only the humans answered.